Increase your influence and bring prosperity back to the kingdom. This is our review of Viscounts of the West Kingdom.
Viscounts is a hand management set collection game, and it's the third one in the West Kingdom trilogy. And I really love how this is just another way that you can experience the West Kingdom.
So Viscounts is the third one in the trilogy, and unfortunately, just like a lot of great trilogies, it's not the best in the series. We'll let you know why after this quick how to play.
Players begin with a starting hand of townsfolk cards with their Viscount meeple on the modular playing board.
Players will take their turns and phases in the following order: card management, movement, primary action, recruit, resolve collision, and draw cards.
During the card management phase, players will slide the cards on their board to the right and then play a new townsfolk card.
Players will then move their Viscount meeple the number of spaces equal to the silver on the card that they played.
Depending on where their Viscount meeple lands, players can take a number of primary actions, including constructing buildings, placing workers, and transcribing manuscripts.
Players can then recruit workers, resolve the collisions that happen with the corruption markers, and draw back up to their hand limits.
The game ends when either the poverty card or the prosperity card is revealed. The player with the most victory points at the end of the game wins.
When you first unbox Viscounts of the West Kingdom, you're going to notice a lot of similarities between Paladins and Architects. A lot of the same artwork, same symbols, similar style. However, once you start playing, you start to realize this is probably the most unique of the three games.
Yeah, one thing I noticed right off the bat is this castle here. It adds a 3D layer, you know, not just the meeple pieces or anything like that, but it adds another layer here that you can just kind of see like, oh, that's different.
One of the main differences with this game between the other two is that this isn't necessarily a worker placement. You do have some workers that you're moving around. Your Viscount moves around the board. You can place workers on the castle, move them up and move them around. However, for the most part, this is a hand management, deck building, set collection style game. You have your cards in your hand. You're going to play the card that allows you to have certain symbols to move your Viscount around, and then you can accomplish different primary actions.
So just a little bit of gameplay, right? So you start off with townsfolk cards, and you can choose whichever one to play each turn, and you line them up at the bottom of your board. And then during your next turn, you move it down, next turn move it down, and then at the very end, sometimes you get an added bonus too. So that adds another layer of what order you play your cards. You can start recruiting more of them and putting them in your hand so that you can use them later, and they might have a special ability that you really need to give you that advantage.
One thing I really enjoy about this game is how far in advance you kind of have to plan your steps. So on your townsfolk cards, they have a cost to each of them, which is the silver cost at the top. These are your starting cards, but also the recruits have a cost as well, that you can either play them one time or you can recruit them into your hand. And when you play these cards on your board, the silver is how many spaces you can move your Viscounts. And the Viscounts can only move certain directions on the board. So you really do have to plan ahead knowing, okay, I'm going to be able to move my Viscount this way, I can go here or I can go here, but then I won't have that ability, or I will. You have to have at least 2-3 steps ahead knowing which cards you're going to play and which cards are going to be on your player board when you get to that certain action that you can take with your Viscount.
Yeah, your options are still a little bit open because, you know, if I got to get over here, I can take the direct route and do as many space or as least space as possible, or I can kind of like play a couple more cards and take a roundabout route until I get to where I want to be. So you're not too limited by it, but you still need to think and say, okay, I have to play a 1 and a 3, or a 2 and a 2, or just a 4.
This game also incorporates an action drafting system, or it's more like a resource drafting system, because every item is limited on the board. When you construct a building, you can only play the building on certain squares, which will give you a bonus. And once those bonuses are gone, you can no longer play them. So you want to be the first player to get there before the other players get there. Same thing with the recruits. If someone takes a recruit that you want, you can no longer get that recruit. So you really have to plan, okay, I'm not going to take the direct route, I'm going to go over here, but if I do that, will someone get there before I do? When do I need to sprint to that spot? When do I need to have my player cards in the right position? When do all these things need to line up so that I can achieve what I want to do before someone else does it first?
One mechanic or component that I like in the West Kingdom trilogy that I saw in Architects and I saw in Viscounts, but I don't think was in Paladins, was this idea of like good and evil. So as you're playing, you can do things that seem more bad, and then you have certain consequences or rewards for doing that, or you can do good things where you can get different types of rewards, but you can't do bad things. So this kind of has that system here with those corruption markers. So as you move down each turn and then they collide, wherever they collide depends on what kind of either punishment or rewards you get for it.
At the start of the game, each player starts off with the same townsfolk and one hero. The heroes are all different, but for the most part, because every player is starting off with the same townsfolk at the very beginning, it's a very even starting field. So once you start playing and people start going around the board, then your strategy starts to take over, and whoever has the better strategy can take the lead. There's some luck of the draw with which recruits are shown or which manuscripts come up depending on when they happen, and there is a luck of the draw when you're drawing from, but you know your own deck, so you know kind of where things will be coming. It's not like counting cards, but sort of like counting cards where, oh, I know this card hasn't come up yet. It's got to come up at some point. So there is a little bit of luck of the draw, but for the most part, I feel like this game really capitalizes on the abilities of the players to come up with a good strategy and win. If you know what you're doing and you really focus and you can kind of plan it out, you can win this game. You won't lose because of some bad luck.
New game, new pieces. There's obviously going to be some new symbols too, right? And one thing that I think about a lot of these games is, where's the reference card? Whether it's my first time playing, my second time playing, it's still kind of nice to have, like, oh, what is that symbol? Okay, got it. So that you just don't have to keep asking the other player who's more veteran or something like that.
Yeah, these games are really good at memory training. So if you want to do something that can help refresh your brain and kind of keep your brain agile, you can play all the Garphill games and really try to figure out what all the symbols are without that reference card. Another thing that I really enjoy about this game that all the West Kingdom games have is as you're going along, you really feel like you're earning a lot of points and you feel like it's a close game. So when it comes to the end of the game and you're adding up the scores, it's always pretty close. A difference of 5 to 6 points maybe here or there. So you really feel like, oh, it was so close. I want to play again. I want to take it. You never feel like, oh, they totally killed me. I'm never going to be able to beat them. I never want to play this game again. You always got to feel like you're in it until the end.
Yeah, I remember when we played, the scores were pretty close and there's just a lot of ways. You're like, okay, there's some points and I'll take those points and I'll do this. Oh, more points. Okay, good.
Yeah, it really is a point salad where, all right, points here, points here. I get points for the houses. I get points for the castle. I get points for all these things. I get points for my, lots of ways to get points in this game.
So overall, because it is set in the West Kingdom, you know, they are staying consistent with their theming. So top marks for the artwork, the pieces, even the little character cards, you know, kind of the same thing. So I like the consistency. It's familiar, but not too familiar because you're like, ooh, that's new and that's new and that's new. I'd say overall, I'd probably give it about a 8. Probably about the same that I rated the other ones, right?
Overall, I love the West Kingdom trilogy. I love the theming. I love how you feel like you're in this world. It's kind of like a cartoony version of medieval and you're going around and you can really feel like you're getting a part of it as you're moving your Viscount around. This game gets higher points because you definitely feel more immersed with this because you have your Viscount and you're moving it around the board and you feel like you're in the kingdom and you have the castle, you move your workers up. However, I don't really enjoy the mechanics of this one as much as Paladins and Architects. The hand management and the card management placement on your board, moving around, having the symbols sticking that far ahead. It's not as fun as Paladins and it's definitely not as fun as Architects. So I'm going to give this game a 7. And that was our review of Viscounts of the West Kingdom.
What'd you think? Which one is your favorite of the trilogy? Let us know in the comments below.
And if you're enjoying our content, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. And if you want to see more of our West Kingdom content, check out our links in the description below.
Until next time, I'm Lee.
And I'm Kenny. I go party like a board gamer.